guys, I'm Derek Moss. I'm here with my brother Kyle today, and we'll be doing a video on how to flip turn like Michael Phelps.
And take notes, because flip turns are the quickest way to cut time in your race. Make them a weapon.
We'll start by talking about the approach, which is what you do in the last 2 or 3 strokes before the turn.
So when you're coming into the wall, you want to make sure you keep kicking hard right up to the point where you start your flip turn. Because if you're just gliding, then that's time you could have been kicking and you'll get behind your competitors.
Notice how my legs keep moving all the way up until when I start the flip turn. This clip shows Michael Phelps on the far right in 2016, and he does almost the exact same thing.
So head position is one of the most important parts of the flip turn, and you really want to make sure you're looking at the lowest part of the tee possible. Because if you lift up your head too high, it'll be dragging up against the water a lot. But if you don't lift your head up, which some coaches will teach, and you just look at the bottom of the pool and the tee on the bottom, it'll be different in each pool, so you'll be likely to miss your turns.
A lot of younger swimmers will look all the way up at the wall when they do a flip turn, but in this case, all the water will drag up against their face. I used to only look at the tee on the bottom of the pool because I thought it was faster, but I ended up missing about 25% of my turns, so it wasn't worth it. What has worked the best for me, and what basically all of the pro swimmers do, is take a slight look up at the bottom of the tee on the wall before starting the flip turn. Michael Phelps does this too, but you can see it's for a very short period of time, and he still gets his head down tucked into the turn.
So as for where you want to be on the surface, you want to be slightly below the surface of the water because breaking the surface causes a lot of drag, and so you want to minimize that in your turn as much as possible. If you're right on top of the water, that'll create drag the whole time you're flipping, and you won't be able to get into the correct angle that you want to be when you're pushing off the wall and going into your dolphin kicks.
When you flip on the surface, like in this example, you aren't able to get around nearly as fast. You can see there are a lot of bubbles created, and more bubbles means more drag. Ryan Lochte does a great job of getting under the surface of the water and reducing drag to get around more quickly. It's also important to note that he doesn't push off exactly parallel with the surface. He'll actually push off a little deeper in order to get into his underwater dolphin kicks below the surface. This underwater turn is a great way to practice getting under the plane of the water when you complete the flip turn.
So now when you're actually executing the turn, you want to make sure you curl up into a super tight ball because everything tighter spins much faster than if it's loose. And I'll show a great video example where you can see why you need to curl into a tight ball.
You can clearly see in this clip that this North Carolina professor is spinning faster when the weights are closer to his body. The same principle also applies to swimming, and if your quote-unquote weights of your extremities, like your arms and legs, are farther away from your body in a loose turn, then you'll be a lot slower spinning around. This is why you want to have your whole body in a compact formation, because you'll spin a lot faster during the flip turn. Michael Phelps does a great job of this, and he almost slingshots around because he's in such a tight conformation. You can practice getting into a tight ball by doing this drill. Try to go 2 full times around, and I guarantee it'll be a lot harder than you think. Even my older brother couldn't get 2 full times around, but he was close.
now when you're actually jumping off the wall, you want to spend as little time as possible on the wall, because popping off like this versus jumping off like this will save you at least 0.2 of a second. As a bonus, it'll make you a lot more explosive. All right, so some people have asked what suit and goggles I like to wear. This is the Vanquisher 2.0 from Speedo, and I really like it because it gives nice suction and I think it looks pretty cool. This is the practice suit I wear. It's from TYR. It lasts a long time, which I like. And then here's the tech suit I wear. This is a TYR Venzo. And this one gives really nice compression. You can see where the taping is, especially for it'll lift your hips up, make you more buoyant in the water. So I'll link each of these down below, and you can take a look if you want.
All right, now back to swimming. It's very subtle, but you can tell here that Kyle will set up and load a little bit on the wall, which will lose him about 1/10 to 2/10 of a second. You really want to be able to hear that pop sound right when you hit the wall. Another thing to remember is to push off most of the way on your back and then rotate to your stomach, because rotating first would create a lot of drag. Once again, Michael Phelps does a great job here. He gets off the wall very quickly, and you can even almost hear the pop sound. Here you can see my favorite drill, where you drop to the bottom and push off the ground as fast and as explosive as possible.
When we talk about hand position on the flip turn, there's actually a lot of variation among the pro swimmers. So you'll see Ryan Lochte actually lift up with his hands, which a lot of coaches tell you not to do, and then go into the streamline. Michael Phelps will have a little bit less exaggerated version of that, but what I would recommend is what Caeleb Dressel does, and he'll lift up with the back of his hands, and this allows him to go straight into the streamline without having to flip the positions of his hands, which causes drag.
Here we see Lochte having to flip the position of his hands to get into his streamline, but he still does it pretty quickly. On the other hand, Michael Phelps uncharacteristically pushed off before he completely got into his streamline here. For this reason, I think lifting up with the back of your palms is more consistent because it allows you to get right into the streamline position.
Alright, so when you're working your backstroke turns, alright, one thing to keep in mind is when you take that second to last stroke, instead of doing a regular backstroke pull down, right by your body, to maximize power, you can actually turn it into another freestyle stroke. Leaning back into that back shoulder, using that pull to propel yourself into the freestyle turn, you're gonna maximize your power output and make your turn even faster.
Everybody knows that freestyle is more powerful of a stroke than backstroke, but most people don't know that the second to last stroke before a backstroke turn can actually be a freestyle stroke legally. As shown here, what you really want to do is lean into that second to last stroke and turn it into a freestyle stroke. You'll get a lot more leverage doing this than just taking a backstroke stroke. You can see here that it's actually very common for pros to take 2 freestyle strokes into the wall when doing backstroke.
Alright guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and if you really want to improve your turns even more, subscribe and stay tuned for my next video, which will be on underwaters.